Oh, yes.
Welcome back once again, everyone. Today we're taking a look at Masters of the Universe Revelation Skelegod. Yes, I am reviewing Revelation figures as well, or at least this one, because it's really cool and I like it. I know a lot of people have very strong feelings about Revelation, but one thing I think even those that dislike it can agree on, that the animation and the character designs, as far as like how well they're drawn and all that, pretty immaculate, right? Like when they took the classic appearances of the characters in like that first episode, like Tila and her, warrior outfit and Evelyn's old outfit, and like updated those and gave them new detail and all that. I mean, they look phenomenal. So naturally, when the show got its own toy line, it made figures of these really nice designs, and a lot of them I just find very appealing, especially this one, because this is the first time we've ever received a figure for the theoretical what happens if Skeletor gets the Sword of Power and uses it. Turns out you get Skelegod, and my god, is he awesome. Like, look at this thing. It's definitely got a very strong anime quality to it, which is not necessarily a bad thing, kind of like genre bending a little bit, right? You take American fantasy action adventure show and, over-the-top anime design, smash together, you get this guy. So, if you've seen my reviews before, you know how this goes. We're going to take a look at Skelegod's packaging. Then we're going to open it up. We're going to see the figure itself, check out all his posability, his features, his different accessories and stuff. We'll probably get at least one group shot in this review. And then at the end of the video, I'll get my final thoughts. So Skelegod comes in this new, Masterverse style packaging. Masterverse is kind of the greater toy line that just happens to encompass Revelation. So I'm guessing there's going to be more stuff that comes out of this. I don't know what yet. So far, it's all Revelation stuff. But I think they're going for like a Marvel Legends approach, right? Where they'll just be able to pluck He-Man characters from whatever series, and make like high detail figures of them. And Skelegod is considered a deluxe figure, right? He's like a bigger than normal figure. Normally they're about $20 to $22, and they're, about the size of a Marvel Legends toy. But this guy being so large and powerful needed, a little something extra. So you can see through this window, you get the character, who does appear to have an actual cloth cape, so that's nice. It's not just rubber that I mistook for cloth, unlike the Origin Scareglow. It's not my fault, all right? It was very convincing looking. From inside of the package anyway. You can see he's got two extra hands here, which look like grasping or maybe punching hands. You have this energy ball thing, which I think is supposed to be him punching, like kind of energy surrounding his hand as he swings. And then you actually get the Sword of Power that, he would be wielding now, because he is Skelegod. You can see the call out up here for 30 points of articulation, so he is very articulated, and I dig that. Over here, you just get his name with a little title, very reminiscent of the old Master of the Universe stuff. And it's Skelegod, Cosmic Lord of Destruction. So they kind of just upgraded his original title there to cosmic levels. Here's a nice little bit of artwork of him on the side. And then they use that same artwork. Actually, no, it is a bit different, isn't it? Yeah, it is different artwork. Oh, that's cool. I dig that. Not slacking here. So you get other nice little drawing of him on the back. You get his name and title again at the top, and then you get a nice little description of the character. So it says, Skeletor lives his life with a singular purpose, to control the unlimited powers of the entire universe. Time after time, the Bane of Eternia was thwarted by He-Man and the heroic warriors. What kind of monster would be unleashed should they be unable to stop the Lord of Destruction? Surely a raging storm of horror and terror even the bravest dare not even imagine. So, yeah, pretty high-stakes stuff right here. This is... He's basically like Diablo. Diablo of Eternia. Just the ultimate evil. And then down here, you get some cross-sells for other Masterverse or Revelation figures. You get the first wave of like standard-size figures. You get He-Man, Mossman, Skeletor, and Evil Lyn. And then over here, you get another large figure in the form of Battle Cat, which naturally the He-Man figure can ride around. I don't have any of these yet. Skelegod was the first Revelation figure I purchased because, he's just so unique, right? There is no other figure of this particular character. So I had to pick him up. And I gotta say, overall, I'm very pleased with the packaging. It does look very high-end. Like, this toy looks like it should cost more than it does. It's also got that really interesting, I don't know, like almost rough texture on the cardboard. It's not really smooth. It's got kind of a, I don't know, extra bit of friction on it that I can't, I've felt it before and I can't really put a name to it, but it's a nice feeling. If anything, it'll make you less likely to, you know, drop it, let it slip through your fingers. So now, let's go ahead and open this guy up. Okay, now we get to see Skelegod out of his packaging, and he's got his accessories laid out at his feet, his power sword, 2 closed hands, and his big energy ball. So he's no slouch when it comes to goodies. Move these out of the way and see the figure itself here. So Skelegod, you can see he's a very big, imposing figure. Really radiates like video game final boss energy, which is kind of fitting. In fact, I would absolutely pay money for a He-Man video game where like this is the final boss or something akin to it, maybe a final boss. I mean, just look at this guy. He's so cool. So he's got a fully articulated head that I think is on a, it might just be a singular ball joint this time because of the unique neck design here. Got this clear green plastic meant to emulate the like green fire that his head is suspended above. Not entirely sure how that works, but you know, it is what it is. I love the huge like ram horns on the helmet. His massive shoulder pauldrons. They are a loose piece that you can actually spin freely if you want to. They just kind of rest right there. You see his torso area is articulated. There's a ball joint right here that moves around. He has, oh, his cape fell off. So he has like this chest harness thing that's kind of similar to Skeletor's regular chest harness. Then you can see the cape does come off here. And you just reattach it by kind of sliding it back up in these grooves, resting it on there, like so. So that's pretty cool. You can remove the cape if you are inclined to do so. Speaking of the cape, it's this cloth cape. Almost feels like felt, and it's multi-layered. You got this outer layer, you got these 2 little draping diamond bits here, which are very neat. And then you have this inner layer that actually has like a light purple border on the bottom. Very cool looking. The arms, they're quite articulated. You have universal shoulders. You have a bicep swivel. You have double bent elbows, which are awesome. You have a wrist swivel, and his gauntlet actually swivels around too, so it can match his wrist a little bit for really nice posing. And then, of course, you get like a wrist hinge here too, rotation, all that good stuff. Because of how massive this guy is, this is as far down as he can put his arms, right here. So he's kind of like a massive bodybuilder in real life. Like when guys just bulk up too much, they can't put their arms down properly. So Skeletor is a real life example of that right there. Look at that. Doesn't go down. He has a waist swivel like you'd expect. He has universal hips, a high thigh swivel, double bend knees. Some parts of that bend work more easily than others. You can't get it to go. He has a like boot swivel like the Origins toys, then ankle rocking and rotation. So very similar in articulation to an Origins figure, just with some little added extra bits like the bicep swivel, which would make sense, right? It's a more complex figure, it's bigger. But I think even though he is a deluxe figure, his articulation is pretty much what to expect from most of these Masterverse or Revelation style figures. So in that regard, it very much makes them like a Marvel Legends type figure. So I think they execute that a lot better than, say, the Transformers RED line, which is pretty lackluster overall. Then, of course, this figure is not complete without showing off his accessories. So just like with Origins toys, you go ahead and pop the hands off. Just be careful not to break the fingers or anything. You want to grab it kind of in the center of the palm. It'll give. Put the more closed fist on here. Pop that in. Same thing over here. Pop it in. You can slide the gauntlets off while you have the hands attached too if you want to remove them. That is always an option. Alright, so you got these 2 closed hands. And one of them is obviously meant to wield his sword of power. And I believe it's the exact same mold that comes with the He-Man toy. Might be in slightly different colors. We just go ahead, put that in his open hand like so. Get in there, it's nice and straight. Looks kind of small compared to him because he's so big. Looks like more like a little rapier or something. And then the big old energy ball, you just kind of put over one of his closed fists here. It kind of slides on like that, so you can get him kind of charging up a Hadouken or something while he's wielding the sword. That alternatively also looks very cool. Unfortunately, you know, putting the energy ball in his hand does kind of hide those magnificent clawed hands a bit, but it's an option if you want to have him, you know, wielding his fell-like flame powers that have been newly granted to him. Okay, here we get a fun little group shot, and also a bit of a spoiler, because as you can see, I've obtained the Masterverse Skeletor while I'm filming this. So this is just kind of an evolution of Skeletor's design. You have the Origins figure representing, you know, just kind of the vintage look of the character in both toy form and the basis for how he appeared in the cartoon. A lot more blue. His outfit's not quite as extravagant looking as some other incarnations, right? Very minimum, like chest harness, loincloth, boots. And then you have the Masterverse style one, which takes that core design and keeps it mostly faithful to the original, but just kind of makes it a bit more ornate looking, encompasses some details from other incarnations, like the 2002 version, right? The cape being especially prominent. The original Skeletor didn't have a cape. And alters the proportions to fit, you know, the style of the new cartoon. And I think he does a good job of that. I think he's one of the more faithful adaptations, going from the 80s cartoon to Revelation. Then, of course, you get his evolution into Skelegod, and it kind of works. Skelegod does look like a cosmically powered version of the Skeletor. He keeps a lot of the same core details, right? He still has a chest harness, even though it's kind of pushed up in a way because he's so huge now. He's got the loincloth, he's got the boots, though they're more armored and his feet are covered now. He does get gauntlets, which are new. He still has some kind of shoulder decoration, and he still has the cape, like the new Skeletor does. He does get rid of the Havoc Staff. He doesn't really use that in this form, at least not till the very end of Revelation, but I'm not going to spoil that too much. He has horns on his head, and I don't know if those are actually part of the skull or if they're just part of the helmet. And another interesting change is that the Revelation Skeletor, just like the Filmation version from the cartoon, has empty eye sockets. There's no glow in them like the old toy. When he transforms into Skelegod, he actually gets some sort of like a flaming glow in his eyes. So that's the first time in this cartoon continuity that he actually gets that. And I think it really works out well. It takes an already very cool, sinister-looking design and just amps it up to Final Fantasy boss level. And I dig it. I think this is a really, really great upgrade to, you know, a design that's kind of an update to this design. It works out really well, in my opinion. And this completes our look at the new Masterverse Skelegod. I will say this is a good first impression to me on what to expect from these Masterverse and Revelation figures. It has definitely sold me on picking up the rest, as you saw during a little spoiler there. And, you know, I'm looking forward to reviewing these guys, wave by wave, checking them out, comparing them to the Origins figures, and just giving my general, you know, like and dislike of any changes to the character designs, the articulation, things like that. So I think this guy is really cool. Masterverse, or sorry, not Masterverse, but Revelation has been kind of divisive between fans. I will say, though, regardless of how you feel about how the show panned out, if you just like cool MOTU toys, I would pick this guy up. He's just such an awesome design. You know, he's a proof of concept we haven't really seen before, where Skeletor kind of becomes his own version of He-Man, and I think it looks really good. They did a fantastic job designing this guy. Of course, the show is being made by the same people that made Castlevania, so it's not too surprising, right? You can kind of see the influence there in the way of thinking, but I'm okay with it. I think he looks really, really good. He looks a lot more intimidating than how he actually acts in the show. So if you're somebody who really likes MOTU, especially if you got in on that the Classics line, he would probably fit in with those guys very, very well, also being, you know, this kind of detailed, articulated figure. And, you know, you could just put him in there and he'd blend right in, even if you're not interested in the other Revelation figures. He's just something so unique. I think he's worth picking up. And at $30, you know, it's not too bad. I wish maybe he came with a little bit more for $30, because that's a whole $10 upcharge from your standard figures. But I think he still rocks it well enough to where I feel I can swallow that purchase. I mean, look at that cape. Look at that cape. That is a thing of beauty. So yeah, go ahead. He should be still pretty readily available in most places, especially like Targets, and I think Walmarts are getting a bunch of them now too. So I'd try him out, pick him up, you know, see how well he poses, how, you know, good he looks on a display, and see if you enjoy him. Of course, that is just my take on Skelegod, so now I want to know what you all think of him. Do you think this is a very cool figure? Do you like the design, the posability? Or are you not into this, either because you just don't like the design itself, or you're just firmly against buying anything Revelation? Any and all feedback is always welcome in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this look at the Masters of the Universe Revelation Skelegod. And with all that said, I will see you next time.